maybe not every game, but starting off with it. Norelia's banned as well, Silas, and the Xayah too.
And we had some conversation, you know, do you go with the likes of Jessica, where maybe you don't know the ceiling of that player, you invest the development and resources, or do you get a guy like Hjarnan who, I agree with Ender, should have been picked up by an LEC team. And frankly, if he's going to get you a Heimer ban every single game, he is already worth himself right there in the draft phase.
I wonder if that's in his contract, if he like every Heimer ban gets him a little tick up. We'll have to ask him later. Could ask him if he wins this game. We'll find out. For now, the Aatrox locked in. This is a champion that has not been allowed through. People do not want to play against this champion. It is now getting picked up by W1D1 and will be matched up against a Jace. So two incredibly strong top laners. Important to note, though, that Jace did get some small nerfs on patch 9.11, so we'll have to see how they match up. Trick hovering through some of his most famous champions, I assume, or we're actually going to see an Ivern. Let's find out.
We saw one at MSI. I'm actually holding on. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes much more sense.
There it is. And you talked about mixed damage profiles. We bring this up a lot whenever we talk about usually Elise jungles.
I was only joking when I said camp top lane. You don't have to do it.
You're not joking anymore. Now you're a prophet. Just take credit where credit is due. Will Schalke lock in the Akali as well? 13 seconds left, of course, for Abadage if they do want to pick his champion. Could pivot as well, look to pick up something safer, maybe a support pick. But the Rumble, now the hover over, and will be locked in. Perhaps we see an Aatrox mid, perhaps we see a Rumble mid. Q 20-second rant about Rumble mid technically actually being a pick, but we haven't seen it yet.
I assume it's going to be the Aatrox in the mid lane position, but like you said, we'll hold on. We'll see where all these champions get slotted out. So far, though, you have a really good mix of damage, and you have a lot of big team fight potential with the picks that Schalke have put together. Whereas, there we go. Okay, lane domination coming out of Excel in their first two big picks with the Jace and the Renekton. We've seen a lot of teams kind of give some credit to the Renekton and secondary ban phase and take him off the board, but he slips right on through this time.
And remember that Expect has been kind of always about kind of these more aggressive top lane style picks. We saw him playing the Yorick a lot last split, and now we see him on the Renekton once again, one of his, I think, most successful picks.
Oh, good sir, do not get me wrong. I don't think that that is guaranteed to go into the top lane. We've seen Renekton mid in the LPL.
Calm down, Doinby. We'll find out where exactly it's going to go.
It's probably top.
It's probably top, yeah. But I would be excited to see if it is the answer to Rumble mid. Once again, just spitballing here. It's a new patch. We're seeing how teams want to approach things. The Nautilus,
We've been
the
so
Sona.
scarred when League of Legends like shifted over and everyone was playing everything, that now we just like, we don't know. It goes everywhere. Everything's a flex pick. Where's Flexius?
Bring him home. All right, Nautilus, Kaisa banned as well. All right, so bot lane obviously being limited since none of these picks are going to go to the bottom side of the map, short of something truly crazy. G2's ruined us. We have to assume everything's a flex pick.
I mean, Kaisa is one of the big upset picks. Again, he obviously can play more than two champions, but his big two in spring were the likes of the Ezreal and the Kaisa, so that actually does take a big weapon out of his wheelhouse. And if they pick up Ezreal here,
would be interesting. Of course, after we made the top 20, Upset actually reached out to me to talk to me a little bit about the list. And he's like, hey, I feel like you guys didn't respect the fact that almost every game I played, I had Lucian and Draven banned against him. And I said, hey, that's something that pretty much everyone had banned against him. And he's like, oh, no, trust me. This was special.
This was banned against me for a reason.
So I am wondering if Excel are on the same page as they're thinking, hey, it's just going to be a guaranteed kind of Ezreal pick here. That is the upset special. Ezreal obviously a good champion.
But what I also really like when he does get picks like the Ezreal or more self-sufficient champions into the lane phase is that Ignar is so successful when he gets to roam around, but Upset throws the gauntlet, says, no, you're staying with me because I'm playing Vayne.
That is surprising. Vayne and now the Braum as well. Okay, this looks a lot like a Fnatic draft to me on the side of Schalke.
The pressure bot lane is immense here. The gank potential there between the Braum and the Elise. Now, I will say that Vayne, with the Rage Blade changes as well as the Vayne changes, has been, I feel, tapped quite significantly.
Absolutely.
Now, there's still power there, but it's no longer the same Vayne that we saw in spring. I actually talked to Jat about this at MSI, and he's like, no, it's still good. Like, I feel that people are overreacting. This is my best Jat impression. I feel like people are overreacting to the Rage Blade changes. But there also has been kind of some versatility in some of her build paths. Some people are looking for that Infinity Edge. Dr. Papa Smithy, he's like, yeah, I think more Vayne players will have to rely on it. So we'll keep our eyes if he goes with the standard Rage Blade Vayne, or if maybe he feels that the changes were enough that you're starting to see different build paths.
And I like the way this is shaping up. We talk about the 80 carry picks. Hjarnan picking up the Jinx. Hjarnan going to be about the team fight, going to be about 3 items. Vayne, going to be about dueling a lot of these kind of bruiser-style picks with the Jace, with the Renekton. Of course, the luxury to flex both of those picks back and forth to match where they think it's best will be Renekton into Rumble. God, so many like Season 3, Season 4 throwbacks today. And now Aatrox versus Jace into the mid lane. Both teams building quite exciting comps. I really want to see how Upset is going to perform on this Vayne. Of course, very small champion pools we talked about in Spring, much larger in 2018, but Spring we really only saw the Ezreal and the Kai'Sa. So seeing the Vayne here I think could instill a lot of confidence in the drafts to come.
And I just want to see what the first look for both these teams is going to be. Schalke with a very disappointing back half of their split. Excel maybe went above and beyond expectations initially. I don't think that there were really any to begin there. Maybe slayed a few giants, but this time around, big names that you can grab hold of, and this is a new breath, a new start for Excel to really get their foot in the door.
And it was in that first split, it feels like people gave them, said, hey, this is your first split, it's a new lineup, you had some of these big games, these big upsets, but now is the split where we do want to see more, and for Schalke, how many times are we going to have to watch them miss playoffs from second place, from making it to that final? New roster, not able to make playoffs, crushing to kick things off. But here we are, the final game of the day.
Yes!
Great sign, that's all I'm going to say. The final game of day one of the summer split of the LEC. And things are getting kicked off, and I like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of lanes for Kadril to gank where he has excellent Sejuani synergy. 2 melee champions, 1.5 melee champions, we'll say. On the opposite side, we have Elise, the quintessential win or lose in the first 15 minutes style of jungler.
So I feel, and I'm going to lean towards this idea that I think that Elise or Trick on the Elise here does have a bit more options into Ignar. The thing about Braum is I just think he makes the 3v3 bot side so very strong with how he's able to apply his CC with his passive in the Winter's Bite. Whereas I feel like Kadril should probably be about river control and bouncing between the strong points of Special and Expect there. Renekton and Jace, very lane dominant champions, and if one of them does find a snowball, you can very quickly rip a game out of control. And the nice thing about Sejuani is she herself early game does a lot of damage, so we'll see if that's what really pans out here, but this is kind of what I'm looking at as we start this game at level 1.
And for me, I'm just looking at, once again, the story of the day has been setting expectations for a lot of these teams. And I think for two players in particular, it is Hjarnan and it is Trick. Players we haven't seen in a little while. Trick, of course, kind of fallen off, looking real bad in LCK. Now coming back, a lot of expectations given his previous success. And for Hjarnan, trying to prove that he's more than the guy that got benched from G2.
But the thing is like, is Trick the actual answer for Schalke? Now, Memento was quite vocal on social media. It felt like there were some mental issues that were happening in the team, confidence issues, if you will, that people just kind of lost faith, lost trust into each other. And so I'm curious if Trick is going to have that decisive forward action, especially when you have such an inexperienced player like Abadage to the LEC stage, now going into his second split of his first season on this stage, that Trick can hold the reins and really help guide this young mid laner into success and guide Schalke towards playoffs.
And especially in this match, where he is going toe-to-toe with Kadril. Kadril, the guy who did set the pace. Once again, we see so many of these newer teams being kind of defined by what their jungler can do on the map. And very often it was Kadril and Expect versus the world in a lot of these games. Yes, there were 1 or 2 games where you saw big performances from Jeskla, big performances from Special, or even Exile when he was playing with the team. And now, have to see what the form of this team will look like. Kadril for now invading into the top side, trying to lay down a bit of vision. Imagine he will hit the Scryer's Bloom here, will spot out Trick as well. And tracking this Elise in the early game is incredibly crucial to stop her from going for any kind of crazy play.
But it's also the decision to say, do I give away my position? Because by hitting that, Trick obviously knows then that Kadril's on that side. I'll hold it.
We'll lay down a little bit of damage here. Now trying to engage onto Kadril. Kadril, of course, tanky for now. Will leap out, but Trick is just going to chase him down. Special's coming in as well. Abadage trying to block off Special from getting into the fight. Trick willing to chase this one. Has the red buff. Kadril now running. Special going to be in trouble to flash out. Trick fully committing to that play to force the flash.
And the thing is we just talked about the river control that Expect, Kadril, and Special should have right there, but he picked the wrong moment. It was just as the waves kind of crashed back and sent both his top and his mid laner underneath their towers, and now Trick has full control to look for a play like this.
Talked about it. Expect, though, with a lot of fury, can't heal up off this wave if he gets it. That flash over, huge stunt. Trick goes up, has to come down, though. has to come down on top of Expect. Oh, the Vengeance will not find the kill quite yet. Former teammates, it's been a long time, but still, perfect predict from Expect, flashing out of the way, the immediate stun, very well played.
And he didn't have a lot of wiggle room there. Very well done from Expect on the Renekton. Fancy footwork. We'll see if they're able to punish the flashless Renekton. Obviously, he wants to be far forward. He wants to trade aggressively. Hold on, Special.
Trick not afraid, giving up some of his resources. Special now going to be in trouble. The Aatrox follow-up is going to be massive. Flashes over the wall, breaks the Infernal Chain Tether, and will walk away. But another flash burned by Trick here in the early game.
And it's only 4 minutes into the game, and it feels like Trick really has breathed new life into the Schalke lineup. It's him who's leading the charge. It's getting Abadage to team up with him to leave the lane and make these aggressive plays. This is exactly what Schalke needed.
Absolutely the case. But of course, still the first game, still just 5 minutes. It has been a fantastic
I'm all
5
aboard
minutes.
the hype train. I'm excited.
Look, I put him on my top 20 list, and that was a questionable decision, I'll admit it. But so far, it's looking good.
And why I'm excited about it is the idea that Schalke always had really good team fighting. I think for Abadage, where he did fall down kind of in the back half of Spring Split in the lane, he had some of the highest isolated deaths that we have at any mid laner. His team fighting was very, very consistent. And when you look at a guy like Upset, who is probably the best team fighting ADC that we have in the league, like if you get Schalke to the point, they can be incredibly impressive, but they needed a jungler to pay attention to them in the lane phase to get them over the hurdle, and so far, Trick has done that.
Has so far. And something I do want to point out at Abadage is that so many of his deaths felt like moments where he was the one who got over-aggressive. As we take a look back at that play in the picture-in-picture, once again, just beautifully played by Expect, continuing to be kind of a standout on this lineup and surviving what, in many cases, should have been certain death in the tower, but they're going to go up, going to come down. Just continuously laying pressure down on the map. Of course, once Kadril gets level 6, though, we are going to have to shift our attention to him instead of Trick, because that is when the Sejuani really feels like it starts to take off. Already, though, with the control ward here on the top side, Odoamne will have to be careful. Level 6 Rumble, though, notorious for the 2v1. Level 6 Renekton is a similar story, but Odoamne has to be careful. The dash in, the flash out to safety. Finally, Kadril able to make an impact somewhere on the map.
Yeah, and Expect also now taking over from level 5 to level 6. So you just talked about it, the ability for these two champions to be able to 2v1. And now both without flash. So I thought it was going to be about the bot side. I thought it was going to be Trick teaming up with Braum, but instead it is Trick blitzing into Kadril, and then Kadril finding his options where he can get something back for Expect up here in the top lane.
Yeah, and Expect capitalizing on that overheat window where Odoamne didn't want to fully commit, did not want to go in all the way, and tries to get a good opportunity. Just stays in lane as well, faking the back. No, will return to the lane. Looks like the second Odoamne didn't try to push. Expect knew his opportunity was gone. Of course, Kadril still on the top side, could look to make a play here, but Trick is here as well. Now, the vision advantage is in favor of Excel. They will see Trick coming. Expect should start to back off if he's a good actor, but now it is the pause coming out.
So it feels like this is a good read by both junglers to be into the area. I think what's curious here is that if he's helping cover Expect for a possible back, and that Expect just wants to shove the wave up, or if they are really looking to play around a counter gank with that dominance.
And we'll find out. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the reason for the pause. It looks like it is on Upset's PC, whatever the reason might be. We'll let you know as we find out more. And I think right now, I feel like we've seen Expect do good things. We've seen some good things come in from Kadril. So I think that's Expect last split. We knew that those were two strong points for the team.
But that's also what this composition, I mean, these are the conversations that we should be having in the early game. Because you look at Hjarnan and Kasing, that's a Jinx Tom Kench bot lane.
True.
You know, at this point, if you're talking about the Jinx, the Tom Kench, and how they're just popping off, something went horrifically wrong for Schalke in the bot lane.
Horrifically right for XL. Got to put the positive spin on it. So you're right. I think that's what we're waiting to see, right? Is we're waiting to see what Special is going to do. Obviously, Mickey, kind of the player that most people expected to start. We'll see when he does come onto the stage. And for now, see what the bottom lane can do. On the opposite side, Trick, everywhere on the map. Hasn't given up a ton in the CS department either, which is quite impressive. Actually ahead of the Sejuani, 35-27. So overall, in a really excellent spot.
Kasing in his Red Bull interview talked about some possible visa issues, but the big thing that I really took away from it is the fact that he wanted to reunite with Hjarnan because he wanted to focus on his own gameplay. He didn't need to micromanage his ADC or try to train up a new ADC. So we should also see...
Oh, instant engage. Now the fall comes out. The equalizer is there, but it is first blood coming through for Excel. Well played on the top side before the level 6 even came in. Fantastic.
So it wasn't even a counter gank, just a straight, normal gank right there. Ignar an upset.
Oh, trick.
Oh!
Trying to go for expected. He's going to go right back out.
I was going to say, with Ignar and upset knowing exactly where Kadril is on the map, they decided to try their luck to go aggressive, but very explosive gameplay happening on the top side.
Freeze frame.
Have you ever casted in PowerPoint?
That's...
Because we're in Excel.
Thank you for cheering. The cheers make all the difference. That's the shift between Frostkern is so cringe today on Reddit and Frostkern is hilarious. Thank you, audience. You're the MVPs.
It's a fine line. That he proved that.
There's no coming back, so I'm just gonna pretend like it wasn't said and we'll do what's called a reset in caster terms, where I'll just say, hey, look, guys, gold, dead even. 8 minutes into the game, 1 kill in favor of Excel. Ignar running away from Yarnan, who is now level 6. Kasing giving him the tongue. And meanwhile, Kadril riding a pig, living a good life. As Frostkern tries to get control of herself on the caster desk.
Ooh. Tom Kench, my favorite champion.
Yeah, Tom Kench wordplay is a dangerous...
The thing is I'm waiting for the Tom Kench top to come out, and I actually really liked the priority that Origin had over it. Not only as like the... Because obviously when Sona and Taric get split up, globally we've seen the Sona and the Tom Kench, but I'm curious if like Tom Kench is going to become such a flex pick and kind of be that terror and solo queue on the top side of the map in the LEC professional play. Because I don't think his duos really matter by himself. He's really obnoxious to deal with at this point.
Yeah, especially with Glacial Augment. Because I don't know if you know, but he's not going to be building a lot of slowing items. He is just looking to get the auto attack slow.
You just can't get away from him if he ever gets you.
Yeah, and it's difficult because if Upset goes all in on Hjarnan, that Tom Kench is going to hit him. Going to hit him hard. For now, though, relatively calm game. Of course, first item for Vayne is going to be very important. And remember that Vayne has been toned down since you last saw her in a competitive game. The tumble cooldown no longer immediately 50% off. Will scale up 30, 40, and 50 between level 6, 11, and 8 or 16, respectively. So I just recite patch knowledge to buy time for what could be a gank.
What's really impressive, though, is that you did it off the top of your head. Now, everyone in the game has access to their ultimates, and...
If they fight in multiple places, it gets really difficult. Zoom out, brilliant observers, well played. Kadril has to flash out to safety. Won't get anything. So Schalke, it feels like, despite the fact that overall the gold is relatively even, the pressure game feels like it's continuously going in the favor of Schalke.
What I thought would happen is that between the Jace and the Renekton, and I think Kadril thinks it too, he's like, this river is mine, and he keeps trying to enter it, but Trick has laid down the control ward, he has planted both feet, he's like, no, this river is mine, and every single time Kadril approaches, he just gets shoved all the way out. And when you take out Kadril, who is such a key member for Excel, they are starting to fall apart at the seams here, as now a Rift Herald is being given to Schalke.
And this is going to be huge, too.
Because while the gold lead is still in Excel's court, with this Rift Herald, that can transfer into a tower, and so you're basically looking at Schalke taking control of the gold lead with that Rift Herald.
Yeah, and it's 10 minutes and 40 seconds, right? So the plates are still on the table, so it's actually a lot of potential gold that can come through. Now we have to see how Special is going to play this one out. We'll get spotted on the control ward. Upset and Ignar here, they do not have the luxury or the safety of a Tom Kench, but obviously Condemn on the Vayne, as well as the Braum ultimate, a lot of tools to keep her safe. Kadril and Special will instead focus on the Infernal, so let's say it will be objective traded for objective in the end. Infernal for the Rift Herald, so power later, traded for power now.
Yeah, they saw the Rift Herald go down. They think that they have a window here, especially with the back timer coming from Abadage. Doesn't have access to the TP, so it's not only a pressure advantage and that bot lane was shoved up, but it's also a numbers advantage here. Expect even walking back to the top lane to make sure that he doesn't burn the TP in case things get really frisky.
Will not happen in the end, though. Schalke not going to pull the trigger, but Trick is sneaking his way onto the bottom side of the map. Kadril could look to come down. Of course, the ultimate is available, but has to be careful. Once again, the 1v1 against the Elise here. It'll be very difficult. The Runic Echo is obviously a very strong item, but now we'll get spotted. Ooh, maybe not. Never mind. These two junglers pathing around each other. Kadril now in no man's land, has to be careful here. It's going to get spotted out, but Abadage is right there.
TP
putting a lot of faith. TP is coming in, but it might be too little too late. Kadril in the midst of everything is just going to get taken down. Abadage has now grabbed a kill, but 4 members of Excel are in the midst of the team. Equalizer split up to buy time. Expect now in the midst of everything. So much damage down to Upset. He's going to flash back to safety. The knockup, he has on the Hjarnan as well. They're going to go over the wall. The lust for blood is real. Schalke hunting for more. Ignar does not hesitate to continue to chase, but Kasing is so slow. The Tom Kench starts coming through, He flashes out to safety with the flash. Abadage, it's too clean, and Upset grabs the kill.
Passing it over into the vein right now. It's only a single kill in Upset's pocket, but it's so much control over that bottom side of the map. And you can see what XL were thinking. They're like, we've got the Abyssal Voyage, so maybe if we make a play down the bottom lane, it's my team who can rotate first. But he was wrong. Schalke just pile in. They get there first to the punch, and they blow up Sejuani before the fight even starts.
And Aatrox so strong, did so much work in that exchange. 2-0-1 now the scoreline for Abadage. He's often been the Achilles heel of this team in the early and mid game, but is having an all-star performance thus far. And they're going to actually leave the Herald here just to auto-attack, grabbing the 3 plates, immediately backing off, and may just look to swap lanes now.
And there's that gold lead. Yes, they didn't have it when they had the Herald, but by picking up the fight, by grabbing these plates, now you can see that Schalke are in control, and they've got the power exactly where they want it. The Blade of the Rune King completed on Upset.
Excellent place to be. Double stopwatch as well. It's going to make the playmaking difficult on the side of Excel. Of course, very reliant on the Sejuani ultimate to get things started. If that does not connect, things are only going to get more difficult. Not a ton of really strong engage options here on the Excel side. Have to play this one out smart. May want to slow the game now. For now, lanes are just going to return to normal. Bot lane will return to bot lane. Top laner is there as well. Or will return to top lane, rather. So, just a normal reset here. I thought maybe we'd see the swap with the 3 tower plates taken down already, but take a look at exactly how this unfolded.
And again, Cagel's been tracking Trick this entire time. They had so much vision. He was trying to skirt underneath them, and the Abyssal Voyage comes in, so maybe the call is, okay, my team can rotate faster, but he doesn't have the health. He gets burnt down, and then Schalke just say, okay, we're piling into this one. We've got it. The last cone over the wall, too, did not help.
And this is brutal, because right here, oh, those Tom Kenchners feel quite bad.
Ugh, feels good. Just feel like this is the sound effect replay. I was expecting you to do something, but...
yeah, I appreciate your sound effects. I was just like contemplating in my head if it was unintentional that Upset took the kill there, but no. He took it right out of his mid laner's hand.
Right out of his mouth, actually. That was...
Hogging the glory. Of course, good on Kaseng to move up instead of sideways. Could have gotten them both killed in the exchange, but they split. Kaseng hoping to be the tastier bait there, but nope. Interested in killing the Jinx, and now Schalke set up to just take control over this mid lane. Trick, of course.
Their river control has been nuts. They had 3 control wards up into the top side of the map when they were playing around Herald. Now all of that control ward has been moved into the bottom side. Again, Trick has just like placed his feet and said, Cadril, you will never be able to play here. And with this kind of invisible hand or this pressure, Schalke have just been slowly but surely grabbing their gold leads in this game.
And you said it earlier, you said Trick is back. It was 5 minutes. It was 15 minutes now, and Trick is definitely looking really good. This is the kind of dominant, aggressive playstyle that you got used to seeing from Trick when he was so successful. And the synergy between him and Ignar is looking good too, which is something you did not really see on BBQ Olivers.
Now, on the other side in Excel's core, I do like the fact that they have been trying to look for plays. You can almost tell that they're trying to figure out the Rubik's Cube. TP top, though, so I'll hold the point. It's Upset.
Be careful. Slow going there. Expect can go over the wall. Don't know if he knows who the opposition is here, trying to dash to safety, can dash over, blast cone away. But I don't know what the out is here.
Oh, well, he's trying to buy time for bot lane, because if you look at Jinx and Tom Kench, they're trying to approach the tower.
Abadage will dash over the wall here. Expect, does he have the cooldowns up?
He's out!
Nice sidestep.
He's out! Yes, that was God-tier play there from Expect. Fancy footwork.
How many people did it take to save Private Ryan? That's my question. It took nobody to save Expect. He saved himself. Strong, independent top laner, folks. But Upset is also going to do a ton of damage here. So while it's a small kind of win in the sense that he survived.
It's a win because Jinx and Kench still got that bottom tier tower, and Upset's still working on this one.
We'll take it down. So Schalke will hold on to their gold lead, but relatively both teams' gold is just going to increase here. And Expect looks really cool doing it, so.
I'm a big fan.
There you go.
He'll get it.
And, oh, there you got him. Yeah, I love you guys. You guys are great.
Okay, all the ultimates up right now, though, and it feels like Excel have been hunting for blood. Cadril certainly must be feeling very impatient because he keeps trying to find something and keeps getting thwarted at the last second.
Ignar, though, carefully in no man's land, has to back off here. And everyone's backing off. Everyone's putting up their defensive vision. Yes, Excel has some good vision on the top of the side, but of course we check in on the gold. Yarnan actually the leader, Upset just tailing barely behind, and Abadage, no surprises there. But things actually very balanced overall in terms of that gold graph.
So at this point in the game, depending on kind of who the loud voices are in comms, you can look towards the Jinx and say, okay, you're sitting at Infinity Edge and your Zeal item. 3 items obviously is going to be the big point for Jinx, so maybe this is a gentleman's agreement where team, unless it's like free on a platter, let's just farm this one out, wait till I'm very strong, because our team fight and our front line with a Renekton and a Sejuani in front of a Jinx is very powerful, and that's what they should play for.
But now it looks like Ignar wants to get things kicked off. Kasing has to be careful here. Will be spit out. The ulti is going to come in. Will force the flash away from Kasing as well as the heal to try to escape. The cleanse is now coming through as well. Kadril ready to try to find the turn. Waiting over the wall. Shock Blast going to connect on a Spiderling. And Special will not get engaged on. Abadagi with a pretty decent XP lead, level 12 to level 11. But it's not going to fully commit there for the play. Expect now looking for the 1v1 versus Odoamne. Of course, ulti up and available for Odoamne. Probably wants to turn the corner. Can't throw it down for the slow. Won't even need to. Now looking to turn as Ignar makes his way down. As the ulti fades from Expect, he's going to be in a tough spot here. Rage, though, will continue to build at 100. Is going to get that healing off the Q with the Empowered there.
Expect has access to the Hex Drinker as well as the Merc Tread, so obviously the lane assignment that he wants to find himself in is across from the likes of Odoamne. As long as he has his flash available, I just don't think that there's a situation where Odo finds the kill there. Like, Expect would really have to opt into that all-in to go down.
Yeah, Rumble obviously not the most scary champion in the game to be chasing you when you have so much mobility already in the kit. And of course, Flash is up for Expecting Kadril now as well. So really so many tools available for XL to make plays if they want to. But it does feel like, as you mentioned earlier, they're in a situation where they want the Jinx to scale up and are okay maybe being the more passive party.
Yeah, I think that that's what they're going to be waiting for. So the Hurricanes now come in. Whereas Schalke, you can tell how aggressive they are. The fact that they were flashing forward, trying to find those picks. Recognize that, hey, we have our own scaling option, so that's fine. Like, hoover up farm in that mid lane. It is going to be the Rage Blade, Bork, Vayne build coming through. So we're in a situation where it should just be both ADCs telling to their teams, just wait for this item point, then we can go crazy.
And of course, when you talk about Rage Blade changes, it is a pretty decent drop in power, getting the Phantom hit every 3 hits instead of every 2. And Vayne, not a champion that uses the buffed aspect of it, which is the immediate armor pen and magic penetration. Does not get that off the true damage. Ender mentioned it earlier today, so still a good item on Vayne. Do not get me wrong, it is just not nearly as suppressive as, hey guys, I have 2 item Vayne, I am now full build, like it was when we saw it previously.
Whereas we'll see what wins out. Is Upset able to abuse this 2-item window that the Vayne can have while Jinx is kind of in this trough? Or will Excel be able to stall out long enough that they can get the extra gold, the next possible Zeal item coming out of Hjarnan, and then start grouping up and looking for fights?
Of course, Jinx, pretty solid wave clear overall. Is just now going to pressure this mid lane. Schalke, though, moving in position to respond. Throw down the slow there. Good chunk of damage laid out on a trick. Abadagi looking for the flank, is walking on a ward, however. Kadril biding his time, does not want to step into vision, knows that he can dash over the wall if he needs to. Both sides just going to back off. Rocket going to stop Upset from retreating there. That's going to be an important decision. We'll delay the back time, or may just give Excel access to break down this tier 1 mid lane tower.
It's the fact that they got eyes again on Odoamne, so they Excel really respected the fact that Rumble was starting to rotate up and backed away from the mid tower.
Unbreakable has now been used. They're engaging immediately onto the Tom Kench. Kasing goes golden, TP onto the backside. Both teams committing for the full fight. Rumble ulti does go down. Abadagi on the back will get a lot of healing here, but is immediately locked up and stunned. If he gets killed here, the new Aatrox ult is not going to save him. That's the shutdown. Expect running for his life. Hjarnan, lethal tempo now procced and activated. Good acceleration gate. They can turn. They can look to keep this fight going, but Excel now backing off. Both teams tested each other's weaknesses. It is overall the 1-for-1. Schalke, with the wave in their favor, may look to continue to push, but the wave clear is there for Excel, and both teams will back away with just the 1-for-1.
The best case scenario for both these teams that are pretty AD-centric right now, 1, because 1 has Upset, 2, because it's Jinx played by Hjarnan here, is that the mid towers are up. And since these mid towers are up, you can't really play anywhere else but the mid lane, because it gives you access into rotating into the jungle and setting up your Baron control. So until these towers fall down, this should be just kind of like the ARAM back and forth that we've seen.
ARAM, obviously, not the best mode for Tom Kench here.
Excel thought that they had bought themselves enough time with Rumble reappearing bottom that they could approach the mid lane tower and chunk it out, but did not account for the fact that the TPs were immediately going to come in and didn't respect the long-range engage that Ignar was able to provide on the bomb to slow them up to start this fight. Now, it did trade back and forth. It was a shutdown that I believe went to Jinx, so again, we're snowballed that much closer to that third item, that big point where Hjarnan says, okay, now, it's my time to shine.
And 2.5 items is not a bad spot to be. So Jinx already with a decent amount of strength here. More than 50% crit chance, and now Trick contesting this red buff. I don't think this is where we're going to be where we see the fight. Jinx ulti used quite
Especially
early.
not when we use the ult to try to snipe the red buff.
Aaron using the ult for utility purposes a lot this game. Little Ashe impression, just, you know, no stun, just stopping back timers. And one thing I will give credit to in that fight is it feels like if there was not such good CC layering on Abadage, that would have been much, much more Schalke favored. So well played to Excel to only lose a little bit here. And now they're just going to walk in, break down mid lane. Garnet's going to get excited and walk away. And now they're in a good position to lay down a bit of Baron Vision. Potentially start to contest that. But ooh, donating some of that. I thought they were going to donate it all to Hjarnan. Special's a little greedy there.
He gets the big one. And now it's just the waiting game. I feel like this game is really going to come down to big team fights. Now, again, this is something that Schalke really excelled with in the early part of their split. I don't really know the ceiling to this iteration of Excel's team fighting prowess, but they definitely have the composition to do so.
And of course, you just look across the board, there's a lot of really fantastic team fighting champions in this game. Jinx, of course, the one that you immediately see, but also the Rumble ult equalizer, Sejuani's potential to stun so many targets with essentially triple melee threats on the team if need be. But it does feel like it's going to come down to execution and engage. You can see Kadril looking off to the side, fishing.
And it feels like it's easier for Excel to fight front to back because they have traditional tanks versus something like a Rumble and an Aatrox, whereas Schalke should have a bit more diversity in terms of diving backline. You have a Rumble ultimate that can reach into a backline and really cause havoc, as well as the pressure between Aatrox and Elise to blitz down there. So I like the fact that Ignar went for the QSS because, or excuse me, Upset went for the QSS, because he might be left to his own devices pending how these team fights play out. You know, it might not just be his team standing in front of him and him trying to just eat through those tanks with Vayne's damage. He might have to do some fancy footwork while people are diving.
Now Ignar stepping forward, ultimate going to be used, but Schalke just wanting to threaten the engage to force down this tower will drop in their favor. Gold lead, 1K on the side of Schalke. But Special is responding with a tower of his own on the top side of the map. Schalke are now moving to respond. They don't have the luxury of a Tom Kench, so it will be a slow response. Special will grab this one. The solo gold does drop into his pocket. It's a nice little extra 300.
But Daniel, now that we finally have dropped these mid lane towers, we can finally stop playing in this ARAM that we've been situated in for the last 10 minutes. Both teams now have access to the jungle. We can play around different monster objectives, like the Cloud if we choose, or possibly the Baron.
That's a tough choice for Oscar. And would you rather go faster or win? Those are choices. It's a hard one sometimes. So for now, Schalke, of course, I feel like you mentioned the QSS on Upset, and I love the amount of defensive itemization coming through, but it really feels to me like these team fights are only going to get harder if Hjarnan is left uncontested. That said, new Aatrox, especially now that Abadage has finished Death Stance, if he does not get immediately hard CC'd over and over and over again until he dies, with the combined new healing part of his ultimate where he gets increased healing from all sources, he will not die. He will heal back to full on every single Q in these fights. So it does feel like Upset has the potential to go completely unanswered in a fight, where Hjarnan might have to spend a lot of time just running away from Aatrox.
I feel like it's easier for Excel to execute on their composition, but there are really creative ways that Schalke can play out the fights. You just brought up, you know, Abadage on the likes of the Aatrox. But, you know, ease of execution is usually what I prioritize. But I do love when games are decided by, like, execution of team fight versus someone actually just got outscaled and, you know, the game goes past 35 minutes and it's over anyway. So.
It's a 2018
Knife's Edge.
2018 spring was the era of 50-minute games and scaling 80 carries when sustaining lane was too strong. But Kadril going to get the fight kicked off. Abadage now locked up. Upset immediately stepping forward onto Kadril. Expect trying to make his way to the back line, but the retreat is coming in from Schalke. They're buying their time. Expect is taking too much damage. The ulti comes out from Jinx, but it's not going to do anything. Kasing now the one in trouble. The fall from Moto1 is beautiful. So many slowed down members. The flash forward, Ignar ready to keep this fight kicked off, but the cleanse is there from Kasing, and no one has died yet. All the cooldowns are burned, and the Jinx is still alive. Schalke have to be incredibly careful. All it will take is one reset for Hjarnan to absolutely tear through the team, but nothing is going to go down.
But no one is dead! So good disengage from Excel, and Ignar doing a lot of work there to deny the damage from Jinx. You can saw that as the rockets were just hitting into the Unbreakable that basically just tickled Schalke.
And some team fights are just two teams kind of throwing their faces into each other. You know, we have those, the big wombo combo teams.
It's not only that, like, no one died and no, like, massive summoners were used on either ADC. Like, yeah, you're missing the flashes on both junglers, but it doesn't mean nearly as much as if your Vayne or your Jinx don't have flash. So we should see another big team fight and a breaking point of who's going to blink first, who is going to mess up and have to burn their flash and then get punished on, like, the second rotation.
And both teams are pushing that, right? We saw Schalke be the first team to pull back. They recognized that they were not in a great spot. They knew Cadriel had burned his ultimate. Expect comes forward, they back off. They know they will get torn to shreds by the Renekton. And then they attack, and Excel are the ones to retreat. So it really is this dance in these team fights where both teams are fishing for that overextend, fishing for that opening.
Interesting. I like the Warmogs on Cadriel and kind of like the sense of if you can disengage away from things like the Rumble ultimate, just kind of dive back in, heal up, and then immediately look for possible re-engage targets, especially when you do have like strong poke with a long-range Jinx and a Jace. And playing more of that hit-and-run poke style of play rather than the immediate all-in, everyone must die on this cooldown or we lose.
And so often that's how a champion like Elise feels, right? Where she feels in the late game like a shotgun. Yes, her sustained damage is pretty good in the spider form, but she's so squishy. So it's kind of the battle of the one-shot, one-kill cocoon-style champion versus the opposite side where the sustained impact of a Sejuani can just be so massive when you factor in that stun. Ooh, Cocoon does land though. This thing taking a lot of damage. Not going to connect there though. Those Abyssal Chains, or the Infernal Chains rather, missing. Not going to be great for the team, but a great block from Ignar to stop any kind of re-engage.
And you can see how important the Unbreakable is. Oh, Ignar playing with fire right there. If that Zap had connected and the red buff. But when the...
Upset. Fishing for the 1v1 in the 80 carries. Trick now stepping forward. Cocoon not going to connect onto anybody special. Retreating Odoamne eyes on the Rumble ultimate.
When the Unbreakable is up and Ignar is in position, he eats so much of Hjarnen's damage. That feels like such an important cooldown that Schalke need to play their team fights around. And as soon as he doesn't have it, they need to respect and disengage. Because again, Rapid Fire Cannon Jinx in rocket form, she's going to hit you for like half the map.
And it's difficult because the cooldowns that both of these champions can eat, right? Because Braum Unbreakable, when you think about the gold value it can contribute when you remove a Jinx from a team fight for, let's say, 4 seconds, that's an insane amount of damage just mitigated. But the opposite is true for the Tahm Kench. Both teams, the vast majority of their cooldowns up and available. No ultimate on Cadriel is a big deal. But for now, Excel happy to just take the top side of the map, get secure vision control around this Baron, and now looking to reset.
I wish that Schalke would experiment a bit more with Abadage playing off into his side lane, either picking up more farms so he can feels confident that he can match lane assignments no problem, pending if it's a Renekton or a Jace. But right now, it feels like he's grouped up a bit too often with his team, which is a lot of posturing for a fight, so maybe wants to make sure that he's in the area in case things go down. But this Aatrox really could be the opening for them to play this game out differently once he finds that confidence to say, okay, I'm just going to start playing a 1-4 style of play instead of just grouping up and following you guys around.
And while we did see a lot of really good movement from Schalke in the early game, and especially from Trick, it feels like the game has slowed down. It feels like as we get later and later, obviously the stakes are rising because one single teamfight win means more and more.
Because the death timers are even more punishing.
And there's a Baron, and there's so many objectives, and it feels like one teamfight can decide this game, and it feels like both teams are painfully aware of that and are just not looking to be the team that messes up.
No, I 100% agree with that situation. You're looking at, I mean, the obvious one is like the Sejuani ultimate, but again, I just think it's so unique to play around the poke tools of long-range Jinx and Jace. Haven't really gotten the ability to do so yet, and I think an issue then comes from the vision control. Both teams have basically been in the ward wars, where they move into an area, they place down their vision, and then unless they have perfect vision, because they know it is so close, they don't feel confident to look for kind of the game-winning fight, really, at this point.
And it also just feels difficult because Odoamne, you know, this 1v1 matchup has been really interesting. There's so many times where it looks like Odoamne right here, for example, is winning a trade, but never able to really have any kill pressure, and Expect just continuously able to be a nuisance.
And Expect also respecting the fact that Schalke were probably sending multiple members.
Dash. See, those double Cloud Drakes combined with Vayne passive does make it very scary to get chased by her.
Also when she has red buff.
Also when she has red buff. Also 3 items. Upset though, taking a big chunk of damage to the face. Definitely not ideal if they do want to get a fight kicked off.
And it's now at this point that Excel need to be a bit respectful because they don't know where Rumble is. And he could be underneath them. He is underneath them.
There you go. Shock Blast, though, continues to hit home. Odoamne now showing himself, gives free license for the Renekton to push forward on the top side of the map, and Odoamne immediately now going to have to respond by moving down. Of course, Odo's TP not available quite yet, hence why he starts to move up after every single wave.
You want to take bets? Who's it going to be? Who's going to get impatient and force a fight?
Ooh, single player or team? It's going to be Excel. It's going to be Baron, and they're ready to get it kicked off. Of course, changes to Dwani can just repeatedly proc that passive. Good zoning now with the traps, but they've opted to commit for this. Ignar now stepping forward. The CC is coming in. Baron getting lower and lower. Who's going to get it in the end? It has been secured by Kadril. Baron in favor of Excel. They just need to disengage. They've gotten everything they could possibly want in the exchange. Sharnan flashing to safety. Kasing making it out as well, but Upset determined to find something back. It's going to be so much damage. Kasing taken out. The hunt continues. Kadril not going to get the chance to back. Will be forced to use the blast cone. Baron has dropped in favor of Excel, but Schalke have the wave on the top side, and they're going to look to push in, knowing a single member is dead, looking to extend the plays. Does not want to give Excel the opportunity to back and reset at least one tower, now in the favor of Schalke.
The question was, what could they get into return? And I want to draw everyone's attention to Odoamne. This TP was not available when the Baron was started, and when it went down, it just came up. So Excel find the smallest of windows to climb in and to grab that Baron, rip it from Schalke's hands, because they didn't have the team fight presence, the immediate response from Rumble.
And well played to capitalize on that opportunity. Of course, now things are going to get more difficult. Have you ever played against a Baron buff and power, Jinx? Actually, I know maybe you haven't played against, but I know you've played it.
I'm a Jinx one trick.
Lover of 3 to 4 item AD carries that you are. You have 2 tricks. The other one is Sivir.
It's my meta.
And now with Baron buff, obviously it's only going to get harder, and you can see that there's both a red pot and a bloodthirster active on Hjarnan. So a lot of sustained healing there. Going to be very difficult to kill that Jinx if you cannot just one-shot her.
And obviously in a duel, you usually give it to the Vayne. But the issue is that with the range of the rapid fire cannon, and at this late in the game, Jinx can hit Vayne before she's able to respond at all, especially for tanks that are sitting in front of her. So again, ease of execution, I always favor Excel's composition.
Late game rapid fire cannon is just such a strong item. And now the Cloud Drake, though, will get picked up by Schalke as XL moving to the top side of the map and want to lay down a bit of vision control. All right, Cloud Drake. Triple Cloud, the Nikes coming out for XL.
They're going to need them if they want to get into these flanking positions, because that feels like that's how Schalke are going to have to approach these team fights. Again, start applying pressure on Hjarnan, so the movement speed could actually mean a lot for them.
Let's see if a fight is going to break out here. Abadagi doing what he can to clear the wave. Odoamne has his ultimate. Can use it to clear probably a single wave, but would immediately cost them a team fight if XL are able to find and engage.
And XL playing this out beautifully. You basically have your little cannon and Jinx, and you're just escorting it. Resident Hjarnan here with Secret Service XL from tower to tower.
Hjarnan, ooh, good combo there, but Tomcat's just going to say no now. The counter engage comes in as Kadril throws his ult off to the side. Hjarnan remains untouched. Odoamne flashing forward, though. Good bit of damage, but it's not enough. Hjarnan just immediately is healing back up. That's the GA coming in for Expect. Hjarnan, though, can't be careful, has to be careful. Step 2 forward, immediately deleted. That's going to be the turn. The left from Quad is now alive for Schalke. They turn the Aatrox ult to Vayne. Immediate double kill, quick pickup, a single moment where Hjarnan oversteps and Schalke turn the fight.
With great power comes great responsibility. Got a little bit too excited, ran to the front line, and immediately right into a cocoon. Trick just annihilates him, and Upset gets the kill.
And they want to keep the tempo. They want to keep the pace of the game moving forward. Upset immediately teleports to the bottom side, ready to move forward, ready to contest that tier 2 tower. Maybe getting a little bit ahead of himself, though, as it will just force the Renekton to respond and is not going to commit quite yet.
So now what you're looking for Schalke is they know that Hjarnan doesn't have the access to the flash, and they need to make sure that they can sculpt a fight that isn't just kind of stacked down. They got very fortunate there that Hjarnan decided to walk too far forward and get punished, but they really want to play in either the jungle or in the mid lane where they can use this triple cloud, that they can try to find that flanking. Because again, you saw it, they were trying to get back and reach her, and that works much better if you have more angles to attack from. You don't want to be, narrowed off into the top lane when the only way to walk forward is through all of Excel.
The two things we have to watch here are Hjarnan. You can see the Devour now used. Of course, still a very long cooldown for Tomcat. And it looks good right now. Hjarnan untouched. Odoamne dead. He says, "This is my time. These are my resets." But you can see steps forward. Kasing. Where's the Devour? Does not have it. And just... You don't get to make mistakes, realistically, against a Braum Vayne, because they just turn fights so quickly. Anyone else actually probably could make a mistake, but Hjarnan does not get that luxury. And we can see in the itemization for Oscarin, he doesn't have any, he has a stopwatch, yes. But Kasing is the one with the defensive itemization. That Devour is Hjarnen's defensive itemization, because there is double cleanse basically on Kasing to make sure that he can cleanse out and eat Hjarnen to keep him safe.
And that's exactly his responsibility. Now, that said, good news for Excel fans is that, yes, you lost a lot of the tempo with the Baron.
Might lose a lot more tempo here. Beautiful chain CC. Cadril now dead.
Okay, bad news for Excel fans. Cadril just died right there. Good news is that you didn't lose the game because you were so far forward. It wasn't like Schalke got that pick and then transitioned it into a Baron. That said, Vayne, very powerful right now, has basically full itemization, including the GA. So again, if Upset needed to be self-sufficient, have access to a QSS, to a GA, because his team needs to dive the backline, he has all the tools to do that.
And things are getting harder now for Excel. First time in a while, it feels like Schalke with complete map control. Obviously, still a bit of vision in the favor of Excel. That now being cleared out by the side of Abadage.
It's a very tense, very close game. I think a lot closer than people expected.
Now, when you look back at Excel's previous split, and the highs for Schalke were incredibly high last split, despite the difficulties. And this is
They didn't know.
very tense.
They were waiting for someone to walk around the corner, and they would have caught him anyway. It didn't matter if they were in the bush. Just unfortunate word.
Nothing worse than the Death Bush feels bad gamble, where you're like, someone swept this, right? You're like, yeah, probably. But spotted out, and a special will now be feel free to clear out the vision, realizing that the entire enemy team was waiting for him in a bush on the bottom side. But still not a lot of Baron vision. Good bit. Upset now going to step forward. Hjarnen is once again overstaying. Kasing is there, wants to spin him out over the wall, but locked up, knocked into the wall. Hjarnen, the flash over, Upset! He's not looking for the 1v1, he's looking for the 2v1. Upset now tearing through the team, the rest of the team there for backup as well. Trick will grab the kill, expect. Going golden under the tower, buying a bit of time, but this train is not stopping. Schalke rolling through the XL line. It came down to Upset versus Hjarnen, and when it mattered, Upset stepped forward and found the kill he needed.
But having the confidence, the mental fortitude to just play this one out to the end, it looked like it was going to be Excel's game. They had the jinx, they were ready to go, they were moving her around, but Schalke kept their cool and are now knocking on the base doors.
Trying to break through the tower, buying a bit of time. Upset takes a lot of damage. Cadril and Special still have to be respected, but also have to be careful. The flash forward comes in from Trick. Both sides now going to back off. A single inhibitor knockdown will give them the Baron setup if they want it. Will they push to end? 17 seconds remaining. 15 on Hjarnen, counting down. Schalke now on the retreat. Could just look to go straight to Baron. Could look to set up another Death Brush if they want.
Oh, there's no need. That was scary for a second. There's no need to attempt to force the end right there. The cooldowns aren't very low. You have the inhib. I think this is a bit daring. I think the idea is maybe they burn it down fast enough.
Vayne kills things very quickly. Give us the vision on 4K. Cadril locked up once again. Now going to get taken down, knowing that the Baron's gone. Excel maybe see this as an opportunity. Schalke have not gotten the chance to reset yet. They have not gotten to spend the gold as they earned in the last fight. And their health bars are still relatively low, but Excel do not get the opportunity to capitalize.
They can get the Elder, however. Schalke really need to stagger their backs if they want to try to contest this one.
TP going on to the bottom side of the map. Odawamne will show up, so they could try to contest it. Obviously, Rumble ult in that pit could be massive, but once again, despite the team fight win for Upset, Jinx is still incredibly strong in this game. A single fight will decide it.
And the thing is they're not punished for not backing because we're so late in the game. What are you backing for? Everyone's basically full items.
Absolutely. 39 minutes into the game. Elder Dragon, massive for Schalke. TP on the flank. It is going to be Abadage now coming in.
Reminder, this is where this composition thrives. When you can get to the back line.
Coming through, splitting the team off. Expected now has access to the back line, but he has to walk through the Equalizer. Hjarnen immediately deleted. Once again, this 80 carry will not get the chance to play League of Legends. No buttons pressed. Schalke absolutely wiping the floor with Excel in these fights. Ignar gives his life, but Schalke are now here for the punishment. They cannot even get the support in the exchange. 5 members alive and well from the side of Schalke.
Split decision, Upset trying to pick up the clean kills while 2 members of Schalke are marching down the mid lane. There's
Special
one.
Turning back. Schalke absolutely playing with their food, stopping the backs, coming through to secure the win. Their first win of the split. It was a close, contentious game, but at the end of the day, Hjarnen caught out again and again by the Schalke lineup flawlessly, means that they will find the first win.
That was a doozy. The longest game of the day, longest game of Summer Split in the LEC right there. But again, the mental fortitude, the fact that they had the endurance, that they were not exhausted. They said, it's fine, we can team fight, we can find our moment, and they did.
And a good look for the Schalke lineup. We did not see some of the characteristic weaknesses of Abadage that we saw in the previous split. Trick was incredibly active in the early game jungle, was not a liability as he was in his final splits in the EU LCS, as it was named at the time. And Schalke looks pretty strong right now, honestly. But overall, still not the clean sweep that many may have expected in a Schalke versus Excel lineup. Excel showing us a lot more, but still, Schalke proved to be the better team.
I mean, the big hurdle was how long the mid lane tower stayed up, and I think that really extended the game. And then once Jinx was able to get access to the 3 items, I think then it was, okay, we now must wait until we have access to our 4 items, our 5 items on the Vayne before we can successfully team fight it. Huge shout out to Trick on the Cocoon, catching Hjarnan on the front lines. I think that was really the start of the turn, a very difficult position to fight from, but as soon as Schalke had that momentum, had that wind back into their sails, they picked the right fights every single time.
Yeah, crazy how a single play like that can turn an entire game around. Felt like once Schalke got the momentum, past that 25-minute mark, they were able to just keep that ball rolling and upset. Showing off to Dylan Falco. I imagine some sick damage numbers.
Look at how much damage I did in the 40-minute game.
Spoiler, 80 carries do a lot of damage. Yeah, probably. It's a Vayne, a lot of true damage too. Bigger question is how much CC? That's what I want tracked. But I think overall, Excel, new roster, I think can be pretty happy with the performance. A lot of things went better. Their ball lane was not a liability in the early to mid game. That was a struggle for them previously.
I actually think there's good takeaways for both teams here. I want to throw back to the thing that I was talking about with Misfits, and that if you have a team that is really struggling on the back half of spring, and if they come in and out of the gate they lose, I think it's such a morale killer. So I think that this is so important, a moment for Schalke heading into summer to kind of, again, that mental reset, that breath of fresh air of, you know, it worked, bringing in another jungler, having access to Memento, and now Trick, and starting off on the right foot.
Absolutely. I think overall, Schalke can be happy with their first day's performance. On the opposite side, Excel, not able to start with the new mid laner that they were able to pick up. And of course, a difficult day for Excel if you missed it. They were originally slated to play second. They ended up playing fifth due to some delays, I believe, with their flight. So that's obviously never a fun situation to do and has to be frustrating. Not exactly like you can come in 100% perfect mindset. So they have some excuses. They can say, hey, look, it's a rough day 1, but we can come back cleaner in day 2. And already I feel like we've seen a lot of improvement from this team compared to outside of those 1 or 2 upsets. I think that this is a much cleaner version of Expect that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, Expect had some crazy plays up into the top lane. Again, it was kind of small moments. Hjarnan overextending slightly, but otherwise played a lot of that game very cleanly right there. So I think that there are good takeaways, again, for both teams. It feels rough to lose like that, but again, if we're setting goalposts and expectations, I don't think Excel came in with the idea that they were going to come flying out of the gates and win all of their games. I think it's about long-term development.
Absolutely has to be. I mean, they're in a position where they built an entirely new organization, or not entirely new organization, but new to the LEC, obviously, a lot of new players playing together.
Roster.
They've made a ton of changes coming to this split as well. So Excel, this feels like not just a growing split, but potentially a growing year. I'm excited to see what the ceiling looks like for a team like this. Obviously, a lot of names that you know, Expect, Hjarnan, Kasing. Interested to see as K-Droll has continued to evolve as a player, what else they can do. But at the end of the day, Schalke showing us a good first performance. Feels like a Schalke that will be fighting for playoffs this time instead of being cut just short. But you can vote for your key player of the game after that one. At LoL Esports on Twitter. Trick, Abadage, upset are your options. Spoiler, it's
top 20 Trick.
It's upset. He killed Hjarnan 3 times. The one person that could win the team fight. I feel like that's when you flash forward aggressively as Vayne, you win. That's just my opinion, though. Vote how you want to vote. Democracy, it's a beautiful thing. We've got Laura sitting down with Odoamne. Laura, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dracos, and thank you, Odoamne, for joining me. New splits, new Schalke. What did you think about the first game?
Kind of sloppy, to be honest. I know it didn't really go as we usually play in scrims, so I think there was some like jitters going on. But I mean, you have room to build. If you manage to transition what we're working on in stage, I think it's going to be a lot better. And compared to last split, I think we're kind of more consistent. I don't think that even if we start, so strong in summer for like going like 7-2 or whatever, I don't think we're going to collapse like we did in spring. So yeah, even though the first game kind of sucked and we didn't really do that great, I think we have room to grow, especially because I think this game went kind of bad because we didn't really have any tools to like force a fight. So it was kind of hard when they just outrange us and they have Tam Kench to kind of control side lanes to get good plays in.
So do you think the draft has to do with anything? Playing something
I mean, for
different,
this
maybe?
game, I think our lanes were kind of strong. Even though mid lane kind of got counterpicked, top and jungle were pretty strong, and I think we should have maybe snowballed more on top side, but I got ganked at one point when we didn't expect it. And I think that kind of like messed with our game plan a bit. But I think the draft was kind of okay, but I don't know, we just didn't really have the tools to like force fights, and we couldn't really get to objectives first, so it was kind of hard.
Okay, still a win is a win, and it's a nice way to start the split, I guess. What changed for you? I know I asked this question a million times already, but I didn't see you for months. So what changed for you between the splits? What did you think about to become an even stronger version of yourself?
I don't know, every time we fail, or like I fail personally, there's stuff to like learn from. I think the version of myself after spring split is way better than it was in spring. So I think even though it doesn't really like, show towards the end of spring split, I still feel like I'm improving with like every game I play. And hopefully with this iteration of Schalke, I can show it.
Can you tell me a bit more about the new jungler you brought in, Trick, two-time MVP?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he makes it MVP this split as well, but I think Trick is a great guy. I think he's a really great fit for us because we kind of lacked someone that could like coordinate the like monkeys in our team with like me, Abedag, and my bot lane. Because the thing is, Jonas was also a monkey, so it didn't really like work, Okay. So it's not really like his fault, but I don't know, we just had too many monkeys in one team. And I think with Trick, he kind of can keep us under control, So I don't know, it just feels a lot more stable playing with him because we always have like a clear objective in mind, and it feels more natural to like, play instead of doing animal plays like we did in spring split.
So Trick coming here as a monkey trainer, I see. That's nice. Is there any last words you would like to say to the Schalke fans who have so much expectations from you?
Well, I'm sorry for like sucking at the end of spring split. Yeah, that wasn't really fun for you guys, but I really feel like this split we can kind of repay you guys for how much we sucked at the end of spring split.
Thank you very much for these strong words. And thanks to you guys in the audience. To wrap up the day, we're now going to send it back to Shox for post-game lobby. Take it away.